For most of human history, cats were not pets. They were silent hunters, hiding in tall grass, slipping through forests, and surviving without human help. If you lived 10,000 years ago, seeing glowing eyes in the dark would not make you think of a house cat sleeping on a couch. And yet today, more than 600 million cats live alongside humans across the world. They sleep in our homes, sit on our laps, and act as if they own everything they see. But humans never set out to create cats. In fact, ancient humans may have accidentally invited them into their lives without even knowing it. To understand how this happened, you have to imagine the world around 10,000 years ago. Humans were starting to build their first villages. For the first time, many people stayed in one place instead of moving from camp to camp. They stored huge amounts of grain to survive hard seasons. But those grain stores created a new problem. Mice and rats arrived in large numbers. They chewed through food, spread disease, and multiplied quickly. Every village suddenly became a feast for small pests, and hidden beyond the edge of those settlements, wild cats were beginning to notice. At first, the cats likely stayed far away. They were cautious animals, and humans were unpredictable. But the mice kept coming, and where there were mice, there was easy food. Some cats began creeping closer to villages after dark. The most fearful cats stayed in the wild and hunted as usual. The boldest cats took a different path. Night after night, they hunted among grain stores and near human homes. Without realizing it, humans had created the perfect hunting ground, and a few wildcats were starting to take advantage of it. Over time, this created an advantage for certain cats. The animals that could tolerate humans from a safe distance had access to more prey than cats living deep in the wild. They spent less energy searching for food and more time surviving. Generation after generation, those traits slowly spread, not because humans were breeding cats, but because the environment rewarded cats that could live nearby. The most aggressive cats avoided villages. The calmer ones stayed, and without any plan from either side, a new relationship was beginning to form between humans and wild hunters. This idea may sound difficult to prove, but archaeology has uncovered clues. In 2004, researchers discovered a grave on the island of Cyprus that was around 9,500 years old. Inside were the remains of a human buried beside a cat. This was remarkable because cats were not native to the island. Humans had brought them there. Think about what that means. These animals were no longer just passing through villages looking for mice. By this point, people were carrying cats across the sea. The connection between the two species was already becoming something much bigger. Once cats settled near human communities, the effects spread quickly. Villages with skilled mouse hunters lost less food. Grain stores stayed safer. As farming expanded, cats followed. They traveled along trade routes, moved between growing towns, and eventually reached distant parts of the world. What began as a few wild hunters chasing rodents near storage pits slowly turned into a partnership that crossed continents. And the strange part is that cats were not protecting humans on purpose. They were simply following food. Yet their choices ended up helping entire civilizations grow. But something else was happening as well. Unlike many domesticated animals, cats did not change as much as dogs. If you placed a modern house cat beside one of its ancient ancestors, the differences would be surprisingly small. They still hunt, stalk, pounce, and guard their territory. Much of the wild cat remained intact. This makes cats unusual. Humans shaped many animals through careful breeding, but cats largely followed their own path. They stayed because village life benefited them. In many ways, they domesticated themselves while keeping much of their independence. Their influence grew far beyond a few villages. As ships carried grain across seas, rats often came with them. Cats followed for the same reason they always had. They hunted. Sailors valued them, merchants transported them, and new settlements welcomed them. Over centuries, cats spread across continents and islands. What started as a simple hunt for mice near stored grain became a relationship that reached nearly every corner of the world. A small choice made by wild cats helped shape human history in ways few people realize. But this partnership was not perfect. As cats spread with humans, they also reached places where local animals had never faced such skilled hunters before. On some islands, birds and small creatures struggled to survive after cats arrived. The same instincts that made cats useful around villages could create problems elsewhere. Even today, the hunter inside every house cat remains powerful. The relationship brought benefits to both species, but like many changes in history, it also came with unexpected costs. There is another clue that this relationship became more than simple usefulness. In ancient Egypt, cats were often treated with great care. Some were even buried by people who valued them deeply. Think about that for a moment. These were not farm tools or hunting weapons. They were living animals that people chose to protect and remember. Somewhere along the way, the wild hunters that arrived for mice became companions. What began as convenience slowly turned into something closer to trust and affection. For thousands of years, humans and cats changed each other's future, all because early farmers stored grain, mice gathered to eat it, and wild cats followed the food. There was no grand plan. No one set out to create the house cat. A simple chain of events slowly brought two very different species together. What started as a hunt for rodents became one of the most successful animal partnerships in history, showing how small changes can sometimes create outcomes nobody could have predicted. And tonight, there is a good chance a cat is curled up on a couch, a bed, or a sunny windowsill somewhere nearby. It has no idea that its ancestors once stalked the edges of ancient villages searching for mice in the dark. But that is where this story began. Not with cages, training, or careful breeding, just grain, rodents, curious hunters, and thousands of years of quiet change. And somehow, that was enough to create the cats we know today.